Hey, why did the bald guy cut holes in his pocket?
Why?
So he could run his fingers through his hair.
Oh,
You should see him
Mike
use
always
an
bringing
acronym.
it up a
oh
notch.
my God.
You want to be his barber.
Hey, man. Welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast, dude.
Thank you, Tommy Chong, and welcome to the Big Bad Broadcast. I'm here with Mike Grief, Craig Mitchell.
Hi.
My name is John Ferrantino, and we have a special guest today who wrote a book on baby boomers, and Craig is going to introduce him, and we are going to talk about baby boomers.
Wow. All right. Very cool.
Are we introducing him now?
No, John just said
He's
introduce him, but we're going to do it later.
Okay,
Introduce him.
No, I think we should introduce him now. He's actually written more than just one book. He's written two. His first book was called "The World Is Your Litter Box," which is a humorous cat book, which I love because I have a cat named Andy who's pretty humorous. And his current book is about. It's not really about boomers, but it's about growing up in the boomers. It's called American Boomer by Steve Fisher, and it's about him growing up. And he's an author. He's a musician.
I see you've really prepared this intro, Craig. Really good. Good job, man.
He's like a woodland dove.
I'm glad to see this is the highest paid guy on the show. You know, really worked every nickel, Craig.
What?
All right.
What do you want? What do you want me to say? Oh, here's a guy with the book. What do you want me to say?
Introduce him. Say he's our new co-host.
Okay. Here's author, musician Steve Fisher, our new co-host. Yay!
Yeah.
Bring him on in. Steve.
Welcome, Steve.
Hello, Steve.
Can you hear me there?
Oh, we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that was
How
a
are you,
great
sir?
intro. That was possibly the best intro I've ever had. So
See,
you're
somebody
picking on
appreciates
Craig.
me.
You're picking on Craig unnecessarily here.
Thank you. That's the story of my life, Steve.
Yeah.
Story of my life.
I hear you.
Yes.
He would feel unloved if I didn't mess with him. So
No, I would feel good. I said if you didn't.
Oh.
Yeah, that's what I said. You're good, not unloved.
So what exactly is the age limit for baby boomers? There's always the big controversy. I'm a boomer. I'm not a boomer.
Yeah. I think the official age group is from 1946 to 64. If you're born in those.
You just made it, Mike.
yeah, I
Mike
just made it. I'm a 63.
Well, you're close enough. That's pretty good.
I'm on the edge of. I'm a edge boomer.
I'm a 60.
I'm a front line. I was born in 1946, so I just turned 77. So I'm right at the front of it.
And I'm
Man.
70 and I'm 72, so I'm right in
there.
right in
Wow, I
there.
didn't know I was working with these old guys, man. Craig, we gotta.
I know. Look, I have some. I have paramedics standing by here in case.
Me too. They're gonna resuscitate
nasty
my
when they
career.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing, Mike. Neither one of them look even close to their age, so they're doing something right.
Craig, stop kissing up. They look totally there. No, I'm
John
just kidding.
pays me. Of course, I'm going to kiss up.
Well, I'm glad this isn't going to be actually on air, like video is what I'm trying to say, because I would have had to spend about 3 hours plastering my face with, to cover all the wrinkles and everything.
Yeah, everything on my face here is silly putty. Just so you know, I don't look anything like this.
Finally it comes out.
So
I came out a long time ago.
So the book is about growing up as a baby boomer. What's the what? I mean, I hit the edge of it. So like, what do you talk? It's about all the stuff you had to deal with through the ages of the boomer
pretty much.
age.
I mean, it's a memoir, so it's kind of, it's got a little bit of childhood stuff, and then it goes up through, my music career, and then, from that I got, I don't want to give too much away, but I got into radio and then record production, then finally started writing, which is something I've always wanted to do. So I kind of ended up where I wanted to be anyway. But there were highs and lows along the way, and I think that's kind of what's in the book, just the whole.
Yeah. Well, I always
of experience.
I always can tell a baby boomer. Did you ever get a lawn dart in your foot? That's how you know a baby boomer.
I think what tell me, refresh my memory.
They were like these huge dart, like they were so dangerous. They were deadly. I think they outlawed them in what the certain.
Yeah,
John,
they
you
unloaded
remember.
everywhere. It was a big
Yeah.
dart with a big spike on it.
Yeah, you had to
I
throw it
don't
into
Weighed
a
it out
hoop.
3 pounds, and you threw it
He
into a
didn't. I
boat.
don't think so, actually.
Well,
I
okay,
think that, and I'm a little bit younger than him, and I think that came out at the very end of our baby boomer. I
Yeah.
think the biggest memory as a baby boomer is this time of year when you were a kid, where every
Yeah.
commercial on TV was for a toy that you wanted, that they
Exactly.
made it look so good, and when you
And
got it, it was crap.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's true.
well,
True.
I was going to say my test for baby boomers was: Did you ever get a packet of sea monkeys? That's
Oh,
the
yeah.
one.
I
Always
remember
the
sea monkeys. I remember those.
yeah. They always had they were a family sitting at a dinner table underwater, and you're like, this is like the coolest family. And they
Yeah,
were-
And they were
And you-
brine shrimp that did nothing.
yes,
yeah. That you feed to your fish when you realize what a piece of shit you just bought. You throw it into the fish tank and let them eat it. Oh,
Yeah,
you're
they
talking
have
about
those-
the back of the comic book stuff,
yes.
Craig.
Well, that's
They were advertised on like comic books and stuff, right?
yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
And the
Yeah.
big thing was every kid had to have X-ray specs.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Yeah.
also from the back
X-ray
of the book.
specs. I don't know if you ever looked at them. X-ray specs were, because I was the magic guy, so I had to have anything that was magic-y. And every boy bought them to see.
Look
because
through a girl's
commercial
skirt.
showed you're looking at your hand,
Not
and
every
you see the
boy.
bones, and then looking through women's clothes.
Mm-hmm.
Craig didn't necessarily see that,
No,
but that's what they were for. And when you looked at it, all they were was a pair of rubber, like black glasses, and then there was a piece of cardboard in them that said X-ray with like little X-ray things with a little, like a hole puncher punched out of the middle, and then behind that was a feather. And when you look through it, it distorted everything. They had about as much X-ray power as looking up a
but
duck's
it worked.
neck.
It was a great illusion. It really looked like you could see your bones in your hand and stuff. I remember that.
You must have
I don't
smoked a lot of weed, man. It didn't
I know,
look like
really.
didn't look like anything.
That's true.
You know,
if you
they look
smoke
like
enough weed, you can
shadows.
see anything.
I read an excerpt from your book called The Record, and the thing that struck me first of all about your writing is, even though I was born in 1960, I'm really familiar with all the the accoutrements of being a boomer, I guess you would say. But the way you described, walking to your car and your grandparents' Cadillac was there with the fins. And I just could picture myself walking down my street when I was like 5, 6 years old, seeing those classic cars, and you kind of transported me right back to that. I mean,
Right.
that's what I like. If you're a boomer, you're gonna love the imagery that you put in your book.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, Craig. That's nice. Yeah, that was. I think we talked about that on the phone the other day. It's kind of. It's actually I think one of my favorite stories in the book, Record Kid, because I was just a record hound when I was a child. I mean, I did buy 45s, and the story. It expresses my really love for music from an early age, and kind of what led me into being a musician and playing the guitar and all that. So it's all kind of in the first story, but I just, I love to get like 45s. I feel sorry for kids today that don't have that thrill of.
Well, today it's a whole different meaning. Back then,
Yeah.
45 was you got a record, and today, if you got a 45, you get a record.
Yeah.
It's a whole
Nice,
different-
well done,
Yeah.
Mike.
I
That's a
remember.
good one.
Yeah,
I like that.
I
But they were,
remember being.
just. I'm sorry, Joe.
No, I was gonna say, I
holding a
remember
little,
being-
just getting this little gem with like with the label and the grooves and everything.
And the
Something
little,
like,
well,
Got
the
a little
little,
disc
the
that
little,
went in the center.
yeah, the little
Mhm.
plastic thing that looked like it looked, yeah.
I
I
actually
remember
had,
being.
well, you
I
can't see, it
remember
doesn't
being in
matter.
6th grade, and we used to go to parties. And on Friday, all the new songs came out. And I remember going to the candy store on my corner, buying a 45, and then you had like a little box that you kept your 45
Box.
in.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah,
it was like
I
a
remember
little,
those.
like a little
I-
album, like a
Yes.
little 45.
I
thing.
remember those. Yeah.
And then
It had
was
music notes on
really
the outside of
exciting.
it.
And you put your name on it and like some kind of marker because you took it to the party and you
Did
were
it
hoping
come with a
you'd
thermos,
represent.
John? Did it
No.
come with a
No, it didn't
thermos?
come with a thermos. But the big exciting thing was when you bought 45 records, if you had one that had like a double-sided hit, that was like a big
yeah.
thing. That was like a
Right.
bonus. You got
I-
two records for one, you know?
I got in so much trouble because now Steve's got me on 45s. But my sister had that box of You know, that exact block. You open up and you can go through all the 45. I would listen to all her 45s because I was like 4 or 5. I guess I would wreck them. But I sat for hours in her bedroom listening to the Watusi on 45. Wah 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 Watusi. And to this day, I still
It's a
think
dance of getting.
Yeah,
yeah.
I remember buying a 45 of the Batman theme song. The whole record was Batman. That's it. That was the whole thing.
The Beach Boys always had a lot of double hits, like
They
double
did,
platinum
yeah.
hits.
Yep.
You know, Chuck Berry was great too. When I was, I mean,
Yeah.
'cause I started buying records. I mean, I was like in, I think, 4th, 5th grade. I mean, really young. And Chuck Berry, like Johnny B. Good, had Around and Around on the flip side. I mean,
Wow.
you got your 89 cents worth on that one. Buddy Holly had a lot of two-sided hits.
Oh yeah.
You know, those guys back then, yeah, it's.
Well, you know what I
get your
appreciate
money's
about
worth.
I definitely appreciate about the boomer age. It's free technology, all this modern
Mhm.
technology. So if you wanted to learn something like you say you're a musician and play guitar, you had to actually go and learn. And you know, today they have all these apps that you had to work really hard. It's like, you know, we had to go to the encyclopedia to learn something.
Right.
Today they just Google it. So there's no information in the kids' heads anymore because it doesn't have to be. They Google it. We had to
Yeah.
actually learn things, you know.
Well, it's true. I mean, I started, as you'll see in the book, I was really into the Kingston Trio. I mean, I heard them when I think I was at camp. I was overnight camp, which was
Lay
like
down
boot
your
camp.
head, Tom Dooley.
Yeah, but I heard that at the time I went there, most of the counselors were college kids, and the Kingston Trio was really popular with college kids, hugely popular. They're kind of forgotten today, but these guys were really, really popular. And I just was kind of blown away by them, and that's what kind of inspired me to play the guitar. And I just taught myself basically. I just got a chord book and a Kingston Trio song book, and I was kind of on my way. So that's all in the book, though.
Have you recorded anything that sold, or I mean, would we know any of your music?
No, unfortunately not. I came really close a couple of times. I don't want to give too much away, but I had a couple of grabs at the brass ring with music. But I did on my, I put together on my own. I recorded a song called Canada, which is pretty well covered in the book. It's an anti-war song. It was written in like 1968, and I put it on the website, on my website. It's an acetate, an old, like 50-year-old acetate mono. So it's not, the sound is not that great, but you know, if you want to check it out, but it's basically the theme is it's sung in the voice of a guy who's going to Canada for the last time. He's leaving home. And
Wow.
Yeah, that's I still that's like the Vietnam era. I still get Vietnam
Exactly.
flashbacks about that bus ride to Canada.
Yep.
yeah. Anyway,
That's
I had friends that went to Canada, and then when they could come back, they refused.
yeah.
I'll tell you the truth. I would have had no problem about going about that whole Vietnam thing. I mean, I probably would have been a Canadian citizen right now.
It's
Well,
such
it's tough though, because you know, at that time, if you left, you couldn't come back. And that's a big deal. I mean, you think you're leaving your home and your family and all that.
Yeah.
That's kind of what the song expresses, you know, just kind of this feeling of what this guy's thinking as he's going.
Were you in that
Yeah.
Were you in the first draft?
No, I actually, fortunately, I got out of it. I actually had to go in and I got out of it. I got drafted in 1968, but I have a bad left eye. I've had it this way since birth. And at the time they were taking, you know, everybody that could.
I was in the 68 draft.
Yeah.
So that was the first year they had the draft numbers. So
Yeah,
the
I think
first
you're right.
draft numbers was everybody from 28 years old to 18, since they had never done the draft before. And yeah, I got like number 335 out of
I think you're lucky.
365.
Were you nervous? Did you think you were gonna have to go?
That was the worst night of my life,
you
man.
watch it on
Yeah,
TV.
it's horrible.
You have
You
it right in
watch it
front of
on
your
TV.
eyes. I remember
I
watching
watched
that.
it- I watched with all of my buddies, and my one friend who had just gotten out of the Navy, he had just gotten out because he had gotten hurt, and he was like, "Come on, pick my name, I can't go back, pick my name." And they picked him as number 1, September
really? Wow.
14th. I'll never forget it. But all my friends, none of us got under 239 or something.
Yeah, it's like both my brothers beat it on the thing. Actually, yeah, I mean, but they were taking everybody, and I'm like legally blind in my left eye. I've been this way since birth, And I had optometrist letters, ophthalmologist letters saying my vision was below military standard. They still took me, but so I had to go in. I was in boot camp, and then I was sent, which was, this is in pretty, it was an interesting experience. Let me put it that way. But then after that, I was a doctor who was sympathetic. Basically, wrote me a medical discharge when I got out. So, but that happened a lot because the draft boards, they had quotas, so they were taking everybody. Not a lot, but there were a lot of people that when they got to they actually got cut loose because they think, well, this guy can't.
I had a friend that was 27 years old, and he got drafted.
Mm.
So they sent the letter. He sent the letter to our friend in Hawaii, who then sent it to our friend in California, who sent it to someone. They sent this letter around for 1 year. And then he went in there, and he was like 28 or 29. They couldn't take him.
See, that's a song.
He goes, I move around a lot,
I wrote a song about my that Vietnam era. It's called Bone Spurs. Bone Spurs.
I think somebody we all know may have heard that one. I was only like 7 or 8, but I remember we sat in our den watching that, and my brother was draft age. And his birthday came up like 33rd. And my mom went out of her effing mind. I mean, screaming.
It was terrible. It was, and they used like a bingo thing.
Yeah. And what she wrote letters for weeks. And I mean, to senators. And she got my brother, I get, what do you call it, dispensation? Because he was going to college.
Oh yeah,
and that's something that people would. That's something that people wouldn't understand today because there hasn't been a draft since. So it's like, yes, there's been war, there's been all kinds of stuff, but there hasn't been this thing where it's like whether you want to go or not, man. You get like it's. I don't think people today would understand.
It's like the Hunger Games. Yeah, it's like the Hunger Games, man.
Yeah, it's such a different kind of mindset that you guys like. I'll say I was kind of young, but it's such a different mindset. Like you say, John. That affects the way you develop, the way you come. It's got to affect everything in your life. That fear that I may have to go off and die at war.
There was a book that circulated in the 60s, and it was really like an anti-war book, and it was 101 Ways to Beat the Draft. I don't even remember that book, and they were hysterical. I mean,
were any of them actually legit?
Like curl up your ass and disappear for 5 years.
My father was in World War II, and he told me how my Uncle Steve got out of the draft. Back in I don't think they have it today.
It involved Chauncey Howell.
It did not. What it was is he took the plastic wrap off a pack of cigarettes before you go in for your physical, and you swallow it. And apparently it appears like there's something on your lung because it doesn't. And he got out of it because they said, "Oh, there's something strange on your lung. And they gave him a 4F.
They gave him a 4F, and he died the next day.
He did die the next day because he smoked a whole bit. No.
I had a cool book. I had a book how to live back from that era. It was called How to Live Free in America. It was kind of hippie thing, and my favorite thing was you get two guys and people, and you go into a restaurant. And one guy just sits and he orders coffee, and the other guy orders a full meal. And then they switch checks. So the guy who ate the full meal sneaks out and pays for coffee, And then the other guy goes up and he's got this. He just had coffee. He's got a check for you. Come on,
bacon.
When you're saying about World War II, the big difference between World War II and Vietnam was it was everyone. Well, first of all, people wanted to go and fight for the country.
Right.
It wasn't a war that was in protest. But the big thing was so after World War II, they thought they learned a lesson. And the lesson was, if you're with a troop and you're with the same guys for 10 months and then somebody gets killed, everybody mourns. So in Vietnam, they decided what they were going to do. They weren't going to do that. Everyone was in at a different time. The thinking being, well, if Joe Blow gets shot, he's only been here for 3 days. It's not going to affect everybody. But the problem was there was no there was no feeling of like when you were leaving, you felt guilty because you knew the job now. And now they're pulling you out and putting somebody in your spot that doesn't know what they're doing. and there was guilt feelings. And nobody, and in World War II, everyone came home together that was alive, and they kind of detoxed together and kind of
Yeah.
went back. Where in
Yeah.
Vietnam, you were in the jungle on Thursday,
Well,
and Saturday morning you're walking down the street in LA,
well, like you say, in World War II, there was this unity. So there was never this, those soldiers came home and they were heroes, and there was, love, acceptance, and they didn't have the kind of healing that we have today, but they healed the best they could. When the Vietnam guys came home, it was a whole different story, and the country was still divided. It was still, the whatever the kind of like conservatives against the liberals back then, and it was a war just like now in this country.
Mm-hmm. You're
So,
right.
so Steve, how long were you a radio disc jockey or DJ?
For 2 years.
Where was
San
that?
Francisco. It was in
Oh.
a station called K101 in San Francisco. It kind of, again, this is in the book, but after, I kind of realized I wasn't going to be the next Bob Dylan or whatever, however you want to look at it. I was kind of lost because I thought, from a very young age, I really thought, it was going to happen. I was going to be a musician. And it came very close. I was just really driven. And so I had to make a decision. I just thought, I had no real marketable skills, but I did know music and I had a reasonable voice. And I just thought, I'm going to get into radio. I was when I made the decision, I was in Amsterdam on acid talking to this girl that I met there that talked me to taking a half a tab of acid with her. And
It sure was a girl. Could have been a fire hydrant.
Yeah, well, it was kind of, anyway. I just kind of made the decision. And then when I went back, I kind of worked at getting into it, and it all came together. But it was an interesting experience for sure. That's in the book too. There's a book called Radio Days in the book.
Right. Well, you seem to have a voice like for smooth jazz, kind of like this is Steve Fisher, but smooth jazz.
My wife teases me because I can kind of comfort her cats with my soothing DJ voice. They like that. But I was in the first couple of stations I worked for. There were small stations in Carmel, which was really fun, and they were album rock stations, like we all listened to back then. So you kind of had you weren't like a screamer or anything. And then when I got to K101, it was also pretty mellow. You didn't really, wasn't what they call like top 40 radio, where guys are just what we used to call screamers. So, it was an interesting experience. I did the all-night shift and a very interesting experience. When you're
I never DJ'd, but I love radio. I remember doing interviews and things and doing radio shows. There's something really cool. It was almost, I guess it's like the podcast of its day, but there was something really cool about sitting in a room with other guys and just have those headphones on, and you're just so locked into whoever you're with or the show or whatever it is, and everything else just gets totally zoned out. I used to love that.
Yeah, it's a very interesting experience. We played music, so it's primarily, we play 4 songs and then talk a little bit. But it's when you think that being on the air, I thought, when I was in high school listening to the radio, I was parked with, some girlfriend up in the eucalyptus groves at Stanford outside of Palo Alto. And music is playing, and a lot of things, you remember those things and associate certain songs with that. And when you're the guy on the radio playing it, sometimes you think, wow, I wonder who's listening to this and how it's affecting them and that kind of thing. How many children were maybe conceived while they were listening to me on the radio, that kind of thing. It's kind of awesome when you think about it.
That's cool. It's cool that you remember all that stuff, that you can write it down. It's like I was a bit of a partaker of things that are illegal and do not remember most of, like they say, if you remember the 60s, you weren't there. Yeah. I don't remember the 60s, the 70s, the 80s, and only part of the 90s, so.
Well, I agree. I took my share of psychedelics. I'm still a pothead, if truth be told, from way back when. But, nothing much has changed. But I do have a pretty good memory. Other people have asked me about that. And, I might not be able to remember what I had for breakfast today, but I can remember stuff that happened in the 60s or, kind of interesting. I
have a friend of mine that still trips.
Mm-hmm.
And he's 73, and basically he has no memory.
Well,
And I always kid him about him. I go, "You don't remember when we did this?" He goes, "Do I know you?"
that is a problem.
But he did call me recently because we had a friend of ours that was very cool, and he calls me up and said, "Let me ask you a question because I'm tripping." And I go, "What?" He goes, "Was our friend John Levy the coolest guy that we ever knew?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "He was like our Fonzie, right?" And I go, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh no, I'm so depressed. That makes you Ralph and me Potsy." And I go,
When you're on acid, things you think of strange things.
Well, Steve, I gotta tell you, man. Your book is really worthwhile. Even it doesn't matter where you were born on the boomer spectrum. I'm 1960. John's earlier. Mike 64. You really bring us back into
63.
Sorry, 63. You bring us back into that whole.
Don't make me younger than I am, man.
I won't. And I want to thank you for taking the time to be on our show today. And I just want to remind everyone. I mean, your book is everywhere. It's got you Barnes and Noble, Amazon, but you can also go to your website, which is AmericanBoomBook.com, right?
AmericanBoomerBook.com, correct?
Right, and you can get it there. And plus, you have the other book. On I forget. I had the name before about cats.
About cats.
The world is your litter box.
Which is a great title, by the way.
For cats. That was
love that name.
Yeah. So, like I said, you expand on all these stories, and they go on the whole trip of of your life there. So, we want to thank you for coming on today. And
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for having me. I really appreciate it.
No problem.
Great.
It was awesome.
All right,
man.
Steve.
Have a great holiday.
Nice.
Thanks, you guys too.
Take care.
All right. Take care.
Okay, thanks. Bye.
Cool.
Yeah, Steve Fisher.
Boomer. The boomeration. The enumeration of a boomeration.
And that's how we're stuck with the Big Bad Broadcast name, because we used to be the bitchin' baby boomers.
I actually
it's because we're too cheap to fucking spend $3 and get a new name.
We have the BBB.com for like 6
I was
years.
like,
yeah,
Craig,
and we have
Craig,
Matt Napo to thank for
Craig,
that too. By the way,
I was like, John, it cost 42 cents to get a new website. He's like, I don't think we should spend it. I don't know.
No, I
knew it was 7 years. We have the BBB.com.
No, I'm just messing with you. I know.
No, to tell you, I told Steve in the pre-interview that we had Matt Napo on, and he goes, yeah, big bitchin' baby boomers. He goes, that's a limit your audience, and we took it really seriously, so we changed it. Then we had him on again. He's like, I was only kidding.
No, but he
changed the name.
He's not kidding. I mean, my son told us the same thing, and that's what he does for a living.
Yeah, but your son's not Matt Napo.
Well, listen, if we really wanted to attract an audience, we should just call the show, Tits and Kittens.
We should have just called it Joe Rogan.
The Joe Rogan show.
That John wanted to call it.
You get a bunch of people that can't spell Rogan.
I know. I don't know if we want that kind of audience, though, John. Yeah. I think I want people that aren't hooked to an oxygen tank.
We would get like Robert Downey Jr. calling us. Have I been on your show? Yeah, come on. It's all right.
Better than Morton Downey Jr.
That would be John's territory when he does a seance. Morton Downey.
Yeah. So what's going on? What's new? What's exciting?
I saw a clip on TikTok. I know we don't talk about Trump. That was Trump giving a Christmas message.
Oh, no.
That was hilarious.
Was it like, it's Christmas, send me money?
No, he's talking about, he goes, Merry Christmas. I said it. I said the words Merry Christmas. I want you to take note. I didn't say Happy Holidays. Right. And he goes, oh, big thing. And then he starts talking about Bethlehem. And he goes, Mary comes to Bethlehem. She's pregnant, and let me tell you something. She's not very hot.
Not a 10. Definitely not very hot.
Craig,
come on, admit it. She's not. She wasn't a 10. Come on, we've seen the.
Yeah, she wasn't.
We've seen the paintings.
Maybe she was a Bethlehem 8.
He didn't say that.
Yeah, he did. He goes, maybe she was a Bethlehem 8.
There you go.
It's really fun.
Ranking the Virgin Mary.
No, you know what? Listen. When they went to Bethlehem, let's tell the truth. They weren't sending their best.
Yeah, that's what he said. He goes, Joseph and Mary. They had to come to Bethlehem, illegally. Illegally.
He
goes, he goes, they had because Joseph and Mary came to Bethlehem illegally just so that they could have a what do they call it when you have a child in another country? Like
Oh, an anchor baby.
just so they could have an
Anchor
anchor baby.
They call what do they call it? They call it escaping your responsibility when you have a baby in another
An
country.
anchor
It's called having fun overseas. That's what they call it.
It's
An
called
anchor
your
an
baby
anchor
mama.
baby.
She don't live here no
It's
more.
calling European condoms suck. That's what.
That's right.
Oh man, that's a nice
When I
segue.
was
Ring the bell, John. Ring.
Well,
no,
when I was
okay.
in Alaska,
Condoms are okay.
What does Alaska got to do with condoms? Here we
I
go.
will
Hey, let's
tell you.
hear this.
Let me tell you.
Oh,
There you go.
So when I was they have two museums, and one in Skagway and one in Juneau.
Sweet.
Skagway?
What?
Skagway. We both,
Skagway.
Mike and I both stopped on a dime.
There's no place called
Skagway?
Skagway.
Yes, Skagway. Skagway was the first gold town.
Okay.
Skagway.
Skagway.
Well, they
Skagway,
really
Alaska.
they took their time in naming shit.
Is it next to Skankway? Skankway. It's right next
All right.
to Skankway.
So let me educate you boys. Okay. So Skagway was the first town once you went over the mountain of the gold to get there. So they decided that to make it over this mountain, you had to buy this backpack that was 60 pounds with survival gear because people couldn't make it over into Skagway.
Right.
And what they would do is most people, because the backpack weighed 60 pounds, couldn't make it up the mountain and would die. Then they would just go pick up the backpacks and resell them.
People had no problem getting to Skankway.
Anyway,
though.
they had in these towns, these first gold rush towns, they had whorehouses. And in the whorehouses are now museums.
The
Okay.
whorehouses are museums.
So it was Skankway.
So they have
Yeah.
so downstairs they had the girls and a bar and all this stuff. And then upstairs they had these little bedrooms. And did you know that back then they used to use condoms and they were made out of silk? And then they'd have to rewash them.
Ew.
Really? Wouldn't they be a little leaky?
I don't know. I don't think
I know they
so.
used to make them out of real lambskin. I remember that, but
I want to meet the
but the
person who
lamb
had
was
the
still
soda.
alive.
oh,
It was still alive.
That was funny, man.
I'd like you to meet my girlfriend. Barbara.
Barbie.
But no, seriously, they used to
Barbie.
make them out of silk.
Right.
Yeah.
And it's really cool when you go there, right?
So then you'd
See
use
where
it,
they'll
then
have-
you'd use it as a necktie after you were done with it.
You see, they had a little there'd be like a loose floorboard.
Hey, John,
And
nice
it'd be
scarf.
like-
Is it John? Nice scarf. Is that stained with something?
You guys don't want to learn.
Yeah.
They have like a loose floorboard, and then they would have it open, and inside there would be like gold that fell out of these guys' pockets, like gold
Right.
nuggets, where they would find it in the bed and like stash it to keep it from the owner of the.
This would make a great movie.
It's really cool.
I think this
I
is
was
where he
walking
got it. I
along.
think
Listen to
this is
this.
from
I
movies.
I took a walk in Skagway once in the woods.
Yeah.
And I was walking through the woods, and this is a God's honest truth. And I was about a half mile into my walk through the woods, and there in the woods was a piece of track with a locomotive on it, like an abandoned locomotive with a big snowplow on the front of it. So I guess that apparently one time a train must have gone through there. They
That
didn't
was
pick it
in
up
your
and put it
walking
there.
Skagway.
What are you eating?
Don't
Share
be
your
eating
food with
while you're on
everybody.
the show.
Mike's eating. He's not sharing his food. I'm getting mad.
Oh,
Skagway.
I was walking through Skagway one day when I needed a silk condom to play.
Nice. I dropped my gold in a floorboard in the inn, I guess.
And went along
Hey.
my merry way.
There
Hey.
you go. That's live. You can't that's live and unedited.
That's
That's-
right. You thought it was cool. You thought it was cool when Graham Nash played us an original song on the show. This was an original.
What's next? What's next? Limericks for us? Because we should do that. That'd be good. That'd be
Well,
cool.
John, you probably you were definitely without a doubt the most well traveled of this crew. You've been
Oh,
all
fuck
over
yeah.
the place. You've been everywhere.
John's
So
been
where
to the
else
Kremlin.
besides Skank? What else besides Skankway? Which you got a good story about?
He was in Bunghole, Mississippi, I think. Right? Bunghole, they called it. Bunghole.
This is a funny story. Years ago, I was in Atlanta when I was like 18. I went to this X-ray technician. I met this real redneck guy, and he goes, "Where are you from?" And I go like this. I go, "I'm from New York, Long Island." He goes, "New York, Long Island, your hometown?" And I go, "No. I live in Seaford." He goes, "Wait, you live in Seaford, Long Island, New York?" And I go, "Yeah, that's right." He goes, "You can't come from three places."
You
So
greedy
I go,
bastard.
so now I figure I'm going to screw this guy. He goes, "Where's Seaford near?" I go, "Near Hicksville."
There you go.
He goes, "It's the God's honest truth." He goes, "Hicksville? Is that anywhere near Bug Tussle?"
Hicksville.
Because you can't make that stuff
I always thought that Hicksville was the weirdest name to be in New York. Hicksville?
I want to be.
Yeah.
I want to be from Buck Tussle, man. That's
Not Fuck Tussle, Bug Tussle.
Bug Tussle. Okay.
Was it fuck tussle? What?
He thought I said Fuck Tussle.
The only place in America where you can hear, "Damn, I wanted to borrow the teeth tonight."
Oh man. You know, when we were talking to Steve, I had a boomer memory because I've been going through a lot of stuff. And I don't. We may have talked about it. I don't know if we did. Maybe we didn't. But well, Mike, you're probably too young. I have to say this. I'm barely there. Back in 1963, my dad loved to be like the guy on the block who had the newest thing. My dad went and bought this aluminum Christmas tree. Do you remember those? They were aluminum, and it had a color wheel that would spin.
But you couldn't put lights on it or you'd get electrocuted.
I did. I remember touching it. I remember as a kid, I was like 3. I would touch it, I would get a shock. I did. But there was, there was a little.
That's what it was
light
for.
color.
It was made for people who wanted to get rid of their kids.
But do you remember those trees?
I totally remember that. My neighbor
No.
had it. I thought they were the most ugliest things I
It
ever
was like
saw.
an abomination, wasn't it? It was like the whole people.
Well, did you know
No.
that this is
Well,
before
then they didn't last long, I guess.
This is before you guys lived in Cali.
Back when
But-
you used to hang out with
Daddy.
Napoleon.
When I hung out there, no, but I don't remember this. But my grandfather had told me because they didn't even have color pictures. But back when in Hollywood at Christmas, you could buy a pink Christmas tree, any color Christmas tree you wanted. They'd sprayed it.
Well,
If you
that was in
used to buy, like,
Goodfellas.
People used to buy pink. Was it?
Really?
Yeah, in Goodfellas, Honey comes home with a pink Christmas tree.
Oh, that's so funny. I remember.
Honey,
that.
honey, I got the biggest tree.
So that tree was really flocked.
Flock.
That was a flocked Christmas tree.
I have a
That
flock
tree was
tree right
flocked
now,
up.
and it's so flocked up.
I saw an 18-wheeler driving home from our meeting yesterday that was painted all pink for breast cancer awareness.
Okay.
I thought that was really cool. The man had painted his whole truck, pink, and you just it was a funny sight because it's this big, tough-looking guy like me, big truck driver, and he's driving a pink truck. And I thought, what's that? And then I saw, breast cancer. So okay, that's cool. We don't have to ring the bell on him.
No. Let me ask you. This is totally
It's
off
a
the
muted
subject.
ring.
Muted ring.
What's that?
Totally off the subject.
It's a muted ring.
That's it. Have either of you guys seen the movie Oppenheimer?
Yes.
Yes.
What'd you think?
I knew the ending before I saw it.
It was. Yeah.
Do you want to know? You know what's weird is I saw the movie. I was saying this to my daughter Lindsay the other day. Is I can't remember. Remember, I used to go to movies, and you'd walk out of a movie and you go, "Man, that was incredible."
Yes.
Yeah.
I
Yes.
can't remember the last movie that I walked out
I do.
and said,
What
"That's
was it?
incredible."
Star Wars. The first Star Wars.
Oh,
I walked out of Star Wars 5 feet off the ground.
But you see, that's what John's talking about. Back then, yes, because I remember walking out of Star Wars. I remember walking
Jaws.
out of Saturday Night Fever.
Jaws.
Saturday Night Fever.
I remember walking out of Goodfellas.
Remember the Wanderers. Remember I walked out of the
Don't
movie The
fuck with the
Wanderers.
Wongs.
or the Warriors, things like that. I'm ready to
Warriors,
get in
come
a
on.
gang fight.
I mean, I
But-
saw Oppenheimer, and you want to know something? If you asked me the next day, tell me a part of the movie that you really liked. I don't
Oh
know.
man, John. Thank you so much. I was so bored in that fucking movie.
You know what it should have
I
been called?
tried 2 days in a row to watch it. I'm like,
Stoppenheimer. The new name
it's
is
shot
Stoppenheimer.
great. It's shot great. It
then
looks
you
great.
guys-
The
and then you-
performances are great, but I was bored out of my fucking mind.
And then you guys are too young to remember this, but I remember when movies were long, when they were like 3-hour movies,
Had an
Intermission.
intermission.
there was always an intermission.
Let's go
Like,
out
how-
to the lobby.
I know, but how
Let's
can you
go out
expect to
the
see-
lobby.
I mean, right now, even that Napoleon movie is 3 hours.
Yeah.
Right.
And the Sun movie, I can never think of the name of that.
Well, you ever watch? You've obviously
The
watched.
Pirate
It's
Sun?
a
Yeah.
mad world.
Love that
They
fucking
have
movie.
the movie. I have it on the DVD. It hasn't. It's got an intermission in it.
So
They
does The
never
Great
took out the
Race.
Intermission.
So does
You know
The
what the
Great
first
Race.
mo- you
So
know
does
what the
Chitty
first
Chitty
movie
Bang
that ever-
Bang.
This is a trivia question. Maybe I can beat Craig.
No,
What's the
no
first
way.
Movie that ever had an intermission.
What was that?
First movie that ever had an intermission.
The first
The
movie,
Ten
Gone with the Wind.
Commandments.
Gone with the Wind,
Gone with the
probably.
Wind. Yep.
Gone with the Wind. Wow, and he knew that.
Well, I mean, it's one of the longest movies ever. Yeah, but no.
You wanna know
dude,
something
back,
funny?
just back
I
to
thought we were
Opp-
gonna-
just
How
back
about
to
Rick-
Oppenheimer for a second. I'm watching this movie with high expectations. I love Christopher Nolan, but I'm like, how do you make the making of the world's first atomic bomb boring as fuck? How do you do that?
Because that's what they did. They made it about the creation of it and all of that instead. Because the real exciting, well, I won't call it exciting, isn't quite the right word, but the interest of the atomic bomb is the effect that it had, not
Right.
only on the people who it got dropped on, but the consciousness of the people who dropped
That
it.
was interesting, but then it got involved into this whole, political
Like when all those
backstabbing
idiots
thing.
stood there and watched the bomb go off
I know, really.
and melted.
You know,
Don't worry, the
don't
car
worry
will
about that
protect
wind
me.
heading this way. That's not radiation or anything. You know.
I don't know. I just found the movie to be laborious to watch. I tried twice. I just can't get. I got.
Well, listen, it's got to be done the right way. It's like when you think about a movie, like one of my favorite movies is Patton, and that's a really long movie. But it's interesting because it really goes about, showing the characters and this and that. Oppenheimer, you say the lead character was kind of boring. They didn't write him. It's like
All right, how about this? The Irishman, right?
Oh,
didn't
The
see it.
Irishman, right? That's another movie that had everyone in the movie who I like, Ray Romano,
yeah.
Robert De Niro,
Yeah.
everyone. And I can't tell you one scene from them.
I only know one.
I remember the scene when De Niro and Ray are talking, because when he talked about it, I brought up I remember the scene. But I mean, it was just sort of like, like Richard Gervais said at the Golden Globes. He goes, and I really enjoyed Scorsese's mini series, The Irishman.
Yeah, but and the other thing with Irishman is they de-aged everybody at one point, and it was so obvious that they were de-aged. I mean, they had 35-year-old looking faces and 70 looking hands, and they were walking like Tim Conway. It's like it just took you out of the movie.
I'll be honest. I can't remember a scene from Gone with the Wind because I never saw it. But that's besides the point.
But Bronx Tales. Love
that
Yeah.
movie.
Great movie.
Love that movie. I
Love
can
that movie.
remember every scene in that movie.
Yeah, me too.
That and
That's a
like
great
you said,
movie.
Goodfellas, all of those. I remember.
Yeah.
There was only one part of Goodfellas that I thought was a little. It was that whole thing with when he's like wasted on cocaine and his helicopter, and it's like a 10-minute scene of him kind of tripping on.
It was so great.
That was
movie.
dead. It was actually to me that was dead space. It was like you
No,
could
I
have done
thought
that.
What? I loved it.
I love that scene.
I loved it because he gets all
Showed the
wired and his
total- It just showed you that total coked
the
paranoia.
doctor had mercy on me. He gave me a Valium and told me to go home and rest.
Even
That was-
Raging Bull. Raging Bull was a great movie.
Yeah.
Well,
Well,
fuck
I'm
my
glad
wife.
I'm so glad you
You
guys
fuck my
agree
wife.
with me. Yeah, fuck my wife. Hey, I think because I was sitting here going, is there something wrong with me? I should be into this. Is the movie
Well, there
you're
is something wrong
raving
with
about?
you. You never. Anytime you're asking yourself, "Is there something wrong with me?" The answer is yes.
Well, I know that, but I'm talking about in this case.
Yeah,
No,
I don't
I'm
know.
like, this movie's going to win Best Picture. It's going to win.
No, it won't.
What?
Oh, it's
Stoppenheimer?
done. It's going to win.
Stoppenheimer?
Yeah.
No,
Stoppenheimer.
what's it up against Barbie? Could you be more polar opposite than Then
Barbie's
the
another-
Barbie,
Barbie, I hated Barbie. I mean,
I thought it was okay. It wasn't my
I thought it
favorite
was-
movie. It was pretty good.
I didn't see it.
it was like cotton candy. It was done as soon as it was done eating it. I was like, it just disappeared. I thought it was.
You know what I find funny? It was always there's a moral lesson in it, right? It's like these Hollywood movies. Hollywood has the nerve to try to send the most immoral people in the world making movies about other people's morality. It's like, give me a break. You want to talk about sexist and race and all this stuff? It's nobody worse than the Hollywood elitist, and yet they try to make movies that say this is what you should do. You know.
Oppenheimer. When I watched Oppenheimer, I was thinking, okay, this is Nolan. Shut up, my cat's meowing. I said, this is Nolan trying to get his Oscar.
Wow, that's cat abuse, man. What would
I
Steve
didn't
say,
shut up.
man?
I didn't hit him.
That's abuse, man. You just tell him to shut up.
Andy,
It's
you
like-
okay?
Yeah. How you feeling, Andy?
He just
Is it
gave me the
okay,
paw.
man?
He just gave me the paw.
Yeah. Keep it.
The
I
one, the one.
don't know.
He's just trying to get an Oscar. I think. I mean,
Your-
no. I'm
Andy,
sure he's
your
not.
cat is trying to get an Oscar.
Yes.
Oh,
I just think that, the movies now aren't as good as they used to be. I don't think. That sounds
Well-
really sounds like something my dad would.
Again,
I know.
though, again, like we
It
were
does.
saying, John, there was less big money going around. So it was like they had to really studios and everyone had to really approve. They went through it. There was quality because
Oh, wait a
today
minute.
there's so
I gotta
much.
tell you,
garbage.
Wait a minute. The
I gotta tell you a quick
Holdovers.
funny story.
The Holdovers was a really good movie.
I didn't
Yes,
watch it.
but 4 people will see it. It'll be like seen by 4 people, but it's a good movie.
It was a good movie. And John,
All
have you
right.
seen it yet?
So,
I-
no, I haven't watched it yet. So my dad,
You don't want to see it?
I will see it.
Okay.
My dad, when my dad started having dementia and stuff, and it was like I just like to get him out of the house, and I figure just take him to a movie. I don't care what it is, as long as it's loud, it's big, it's action.
Right,
It'll keep his interest. So I took him to see the first Transformers movie,
Oh
Right.
wow, yeah.
and in the middle of the movie, he just stands up and goes, "This is the craziest thing I've ever seen in my life."
But did he like it? Was that a good?
I guess,
Yeah.
but he was so confused by it. Like
Right.
cars turning into robots.
I can imagine being confused by it. It's like, yeah, but
I'm into Transformers, and I was confused by it. I remember the last movie I took my mom to. You're not going to believe this because I took her to see Spider-Man 2. That's the one with
Spider-Man
Doc Ock,
2.
and she
Doc-
loved it.
Yeah.
So,
I took my mom to see the last movie I remember taking my mother to see was Arthur. Sir John Gielgud looked exactly like my grandfather.
oh man, I
He
love,
sounded like
One of the best movies of all time. Arthur.
I love
that
Arthur.
movie.
great movie.
If you get
Arthur.
drunk in
Arthur,
New
take
York-
my hand. That would leave you with one.
Yeah.
There are 3 books.
I
Take
love
them
Arthur.
back to the library.
I
God.
like when he pulls up to the 4 hookers and goes, "Would one of the least offensive of you please get in the car?"
two hookers. John, you must have glasses, bad glasses too.
You're a hooker? I thought I was doing
That was
great
good,
with you.
Oh, I love when he's telling his aunt about what country she's from. He goes, a really small country. They just had it recently carpeted. That we're talking very small.
And that
And the
movie
moose?
that movie got a lot of shit too, saying it was glorifying alcohol.
Not until much later, but yeah, it did. Yeah, that's
You
why
know what?
they remade it with Russell Brand. They kind of changed
which
that.
was the worst ever.
People are
How
just
about
so
when they
full
take-
of shit.
How about when they take a really good movie and they make a remake of it? And
You mean
just
like the Out of
destroy it?
Towners,
No, the worst offense of
the
that
In-Laws?
was the in-laws.
Oh boy.
So the in-laws, the original in-laws, right? Through the entire movie, you don't know whether Peter Falk is nuts or not, right? You don't know. In the new movie, and that's what makes it funny, because when he calls to report him, he gets all these things. Oh yeah, we had to let him go. He's crazy. Everyone he ever worked with got killed, right? And then in the new movie, in the very beginning, the opening phone call, they go, "Oh yeah, he no longer works for us."
Yeah. You know what it is? It's because they don't give the audience today any credit. They think the audience is stupid, and in part, they're kind of right. They
Yeah, like look
monitor-
at CSI or all those shows. Not only does the guy get shot, you got to see the bullet entering through the first layer of skin, bouncing off the bone, right? You got to see all this stuff. Like, yeah, he just got shot. You know?
Yeah.
It's so funny.
Well, I mean, the whole thing. Now they cast two really good people in the remake of The In-Laws. You had Albert Brooks, who's great,
Right.
and you
I
have
love
Michael
Albert
Douglas,
Brooks.
who's won an Oscar, but they just didn't have the same chemistry as Peter Falk and Alan Arkin. It just doesn't work.
So
You know?
that's one of the
Well,
to me, that's one of the funniest movies ever.
tell me any remake.
Serpentine, Sheldon.
Tell me any
Serpentine.
remake that was better than the original. There's no such thing.
Sure, there is.
A remake that was better than the original.
I thought of one right away.
Wow.
All right, let's hear it.
Judy Garland's "A Star Is Born" over Johnny Cage.
Jeez, dear, would you? With
Oh, the fag is talking about this now. Yeah.
Oh, you're so
I better-
stereotypical.
I'll bleep that out.
Judy Garland's name.
Yeah.
Double bell.
Come on, that was a really good, and also the Bradley Cooper version was really good too.
Yes. Now let me
Yeah.
ask you a question. Because I don't really remember the first 16 of those movies. Was the story very different, the Bradley Cooper version?
Well, yes, in one respect.
I like the Chris Christopherson version.
Well, no, the
That's
reason
the
why
one, too.
the reason why I'm asking is because he gets writing credit in that movie.
Well,
Does he?
with dialogue and stuff like that, yeah.
Well, because he
Yeah,
also
music.
sang too.
Well, yeah, no, but I mean, he gets like book credit. You know, like if
Yeah.
that was a play. He would,
Yeah, you're writing the screenplay. That would be a book.
yeah.
But well, the
What are
thing
you gonna
is,
do?
you want to hear you want to talk about the biggest wasted opportunity ever. Back in '76, when they did *A Star Is Born*, they did it with Barbara Streisand, of course, and it was Chris Christopherson. But Chris Christopherson was their second choice. They offered that role to Elvis. Can you imagine if friggin' Elvis did that?
It would have been a bomb. It would have been a bomb.
You think so?
Elvis was fluffy. He was like not a serious actor. You know what I mean? I don't. Now maybe he had
Remember
the
Eddie
chops, I
Murphy
don't
used to
know,
do that?
but-
He was the worst Elvis was the worst actor in the history of show business. In fact, anytime he had to do a line, he had to sing it. I'm going to drive my car around
Yeah.
the track.
Lemonade.
I think
That
it would
cool,
be.
refreshing drink.
I still would have. I still would have liked to have seen him try because it mirrored his career at that point.
He
Really.
didn't have the chops that Chris Christopherson.
Yeah,
was,
I guess
was
maybe,
phenomenal.
but I still would have liked to have seen
The
what the attempt.
sexiest Elvis scene ever, which I just saw the other day again, is he's underneath the car. I think it was Viva Las Vegas.
Bring the bell on
Or
yourself,
Speedway.
John.
No, Speedway. Yeah, maybe it's Speedway. He's underneath the car, and Anne Margaret walks in in these tight white shorts driving a Triumph TR4A. And the guys just slide out from underneath. And she's got these little shorts, and they go, "What's the matter?" And she goes, "My car is going ting, ting, ting." And Albert goes, "When it goes ting, ting," it's the sweetest thing, but she looks so beautiful in it.
Oh, she's
Yeah.
gorgeous.
Yeah, unbelievable.
Well, those old stars that this is pre-surgery, just go pre-modern filters and makeup and all. Well, I mean they had makeup, but like come on, Sophia Loren. Who's the most beautiful starlet of all time? Do you think?
Oh, that's a tough one.
It's a tough question because there's like 3 or 4 that pop in my mind. I love
Audrey
Audrey Hepburn.
Audrey
Hepburn seemed like the most
Audrey
innocent-
Hepburn's up there. I was thinking of her, but
Yeah.
I was thinking of
Doesn't
Anthony.
Sophia Loren, but there was a few.
you
Like,
know,
so
it-
you
but
got to
it-
have categories for that. You can't just answer that because there's which is the sexiest, which is the prettiest, which is the
for sheer
so-
pretty. I mean, for sheer beauty, it's got to be either Audrey Hepburn or Elizabeth Taylor.
Yeah, I'll go along with you there, and I'd still go with Audrey Hepburn. I just think she is just what you would say, the cat's meow.
See, as a
That
gay man,
Margot
I can
Robbie
answer
is
that
one of the
question.
most- That Margot Robbie is one of the most beautiful women I've ever seen.
Oh, by far,
Absolutely,
she almost made me change sides. Seriously, that
once
scene,
you go to the
that
dark
scene
side,
in the Wolf
once
of
you
Wall
go to
Street.
the dark side, you have to stay on the dark.
Well, that scene in the Wolf of Wall Street when she's opening her
Oh
leg.
my God!
Holy crap!
The hottest
You know what?
scene
I've
ever.
got to rewatch The Wolf of Wall Street now.
Oh my God, that's a
Oh,
great
man,
movie.
It's the hottest scene ever in a movie.
Yeah. That's that's
that-
probably my favorite Scorsese
Even that,
film.
look, that we're talking about movies. That's a movie that you remember so many
I
scenes.
love that movie.
Remember
Dude,
when he
the scene when the Quaaludes hit. Oh my God. It's one of the
I think
funniest.
I got home pretty safe.
Scorsese can do comedy, man. That was one of the fun. I was roaring during that scene.
There's nothing left of the car except for the
Hang of the phone.
How we
She's
doing
very
on
beautiful.
time? Just out of
We have about
curiosity?
5 minutes.
Yeah,
Wow.
5 minutes.
Went fast.
Let's get
Went
serious
fast.
now.
Let's get serious. Give
Oh,
to
I'm not
St.
getting- no,
Jude's.
I don't
There's
wanna get
kids
serious.
out there that need your money.
Oh
That's
man,
right.
don't do that.
Well, it's that time of year, man. All the commercials are for the Shriners or for St. Jude's, and I'm all for that. I give money to St. Jude's every year. We give money.
I gotta tell you, man. I watched the game
But
show.
then I feel guilty though that I don't give to the Shriners. So I feel like shit.
So
It's
the
like I'm
Shriners
helping
have
these
enough
kids.
money in their little go karts.
I'm watching the Game Show Network, and they have the commercial for the Shriners every commercial, and this commercial comes on. I be home for Christmas, and they're all singing, and I give money immediately. But I do put a note for singing lessons when I send it. though. I do.
That's
that-
nice. Let's make fun of disabled children. That's good,
you
Craig.
Trump.
You've got a
I
real
think disabled
you've got a real
children.
future with
They
that.
They just
There
can't
you
sing.
go. Yeah, poor little Billy. He's
What
got no
I'm really
legs and no
jealous
arms,
of,
and he-
those
and he
kids,
can't
though.
hit a IC.
No,
Right.
look at those kids. Those kids. It's not, I mean, I don't. They're really good at spokespeople. I'm like, I couldn't do that. I wouldn't be that
That
good
little
on
blonde,
camera.
that little blonde kid with the bow tie.
What the hell? He's so
Oh,
good.
So
They
cute.
break my heart every time I see those commercials. I'm
Oh.
like freaking. I'm like, you're right. You're right. It's like how
But they
I-
can't sing. I'm sorry, they just can't.
The Shriners, man, are really cool. Like every time they have
They
little
are.
parades, they all have their go karts and stuff, and they're made up like airplanes and fire
And-
trucks.
and you gotta love those hats. Come on,
You
man.
gotta wear
Those
the
hats-
fez.
They must be some brave bastards to walk
I love-
around wearing them hats.
I love the commercial when he introduces his family, and it's everybody from the Shriners Hospital, and the kid goes, "And my Shriner," and the guy with that hat walks in. I'm
Yeah.
sorry, that's pretty cool. That's pretty funny when he does
I mean,
that.
come on, it's,
And my
it's
Shriner?
2023, man. Fucking redesign your hats, man. Come on.
Oh, those fences are cool.
Those hats are cool. Fez
Yeah,
is
they're-
cool.
They're cool if you're living in Morocco in 1925. Okay, that's cool.
The Road to Morocco is a great
That's where
movie.
they came from. That's probably where they came from.
I know, really.
What does a Shriner? What does a Shriner actually mean? Let me look it up.
Well, it's Will
is
Shriner's
it?
family, isn't it? It's Will Shriner. No.
No, it's.
goes way back past that.
I don't know what a Shriner is. I really don't know. I just
know,
know
let's
that
look
they
I
help
would
people.
assume it's like
Religious organization.
know
but
what
I'd
it
probably
is.
be wrong. I'd probably be wrong. I don't know.
John's finding out. He's on his smartphone
Wait,
right
hold
now.
on. Do 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 do.
What does Shriner mean? It's a member of the ancient Arabic order of the nobles of the
There you
Mystic
go.
Shrine.
Arabic.
A
Okay.
charitable society founded in 1872. The festival parade might reel with the pipe bands and Shriners.
Okay.
Wow.
Is that like not the Mormons?
Shriners believe in God. Shriners believe in God and that he created man to serve his purposes, among which to service to others in his name. We believe that the care for the less fortunate, especially children who suffer from burns, crippling diseases, or
Oh, well, that's good. That's good that they're there.
No, God
Pretty
bless
cool.
them. Hey, you know what, man? God bless all these organizations. If the money actually goes to what it's supposed to go to, then I say it's terrific. You know what I mean? I can't stand. There's always been scandals. Like I don't know that I've heard things about the Salvation Army and several other things that the money goes up. It's only a percentage of it gets to where it's supposed. Now I'm not accusing them of anything because I don't know. These are just things I've heard.
From what I understand, all of the Shriner money goes to them.
Please send your cards and letters to Don't Cancel Mike at P.O. Box. No, but you know what?
No.
I have a bone to pick against the Salvation Army only because I've heard that they're not heard, but I've seen it demonstrated that they're very anti-LGBTQ. So
Oh, that's the the
That's
Salvation.
why they're bringing those bills.
Yeah.
and
Sleigh bells
you can
ring.
tell
They stole my bell idea.
you can
Oh,
tell
you're-
that they're anti-LGBTQ and that the
Ring the
gay
bell.
people don't like them by the way they're dressed. You can tell That if gay people were into that, they'd be dressed much nicer. Seriously, they would be.
They'd have Santa suits. They'd have Perry Ellis Santa suits.
Yes. Oh, that'd be nice.
There you go.
That'd be special. I'd like
They'd
that.
instead of it'd be Calvin Clown. Calvin Clown. Brought to you
Calvin
by
Clown.
Calvin Clown. Santa suit by Calvin Clown.
Okay. Well, on that happy note,
That was a happy note.
it was.
There you go.
Our next show is going to be our Christmas show and New Year's show, I think, isn't it? Aren't we doing
We're
both?
going to combine it. It's going to be like we discount Christmas, New Year's,
Christmas, New Year's.
the sister's ass show.
All right, now right back down to the lower rung. We just fell
You
right
fly
back.
home tomorrow. You fly home tomorrow, right, Mike?
Yeah. Going home mañana and then home for like a week and then New York for Christmas.
New York, New York. Cool.
That's it.
And me, I'm just going to sit here with my cat.
And then poor little dude's got to be alone.
No, actually, I have ladies. We have a dog sitter. Dude's right now with her, and then when we leave, she comes and yeah, man. Dude, I just couldn't stand putting him in a kennel or nothing like that.
Yeah, I
you
can
know?
do it. My
I
dog
have
had
a
nervous
friend.
breakdown when I got home yesterday because I was gone 12 hours.
I have a
Yeah.
friend who's dog sitting over Christmas for 8 days. He's in this beautiful, beautiful like mansion up in the Hollywood Hills, taking care of these 2 dogs. He gets to eat whatever he wants. Uses their cable, whatever, and he's going to get like $2,000 for it too.
Wow. I hope they're using farmer dog. Is that he's eating the farmer dog? He gets to eat whatever he wants as long as it's dog food.
Yeah. Oh my God. All right, John, take it
You
home.
gotta
All right,
own-
man.
You gotta
Get us
own a
outta here.
farm. You have to own a farm to afford to give your dog that food.
Yeah.
There you go. Oh, my dog eats farmer dog, man. Because you know what? Nothing's too good for my dude.
Is it expensive? I heard it was really expensive.
It's not cheap. Yeah, it's kind of expensive, but he's like I mix it with other stuff. I stretch it as far as I can, but the stuff I'm mixing it with is just as expensive. I buy like a whole cooked chicken and I mix some of it. So you can't win. You know what? He's a spoiled dog. What are you gonna do?
I know,
But if I don't give him the good stuff, he looks at me like, you sleep, I'm awake.
Greg's
I
laughing
could do
every
things.
time we're ready to
I
end the
could
show,
do-
we started the conversation.
Yeah.
I
And
can do
you're doing
things.
this mystic thing.
All right, get us out of here.
All righty. Well, it's Christmas season. Fa la la, la la la, la.
First of all,
And-
thanks to Steve Fisher for being on the show.
How come Mike brought this up yesterday at lunch? How come our straight man on the show is gay?
What do you mean you're straight? I'm a straight man. Well, I thanks for the compliment. I think I'm pretty butch. It's one of those things.
Okay,
Only
gotta
show
go.
where the straight guy is gay.
Well, because I'm very regimented because my OCD. Plus, I used to be on radio. When it's time to leave, it's time to leave. You guys.
All right, time to leave.
But wait, thanks to
There's just
Steve
so much-
Fisher.
There's just so much love here that we hate to break the love bond.
That's true. Thanks to Steve Fisher for being on our show. Remember, get his book at AmericanBoomer.com. AmericanBoomerBook.com.
Right.
There's the plug. There you go.
All right. Well, let's say goodbye, everyone, and let's keep your shopping going. Christmas is around the corner, and let's thank Craig Mitchell.
Thank
All
you.
right.
Mike Grief. I'm John
It's been
Ferrantino.
awesome for you guys. All right.
Later. We will see you next week.
Next week.
Peace.
Peace out.